Well, hello traders and investors. I'm LA Little and this is your daily NeoTA wrap, where we take a look at these markets, doing it from a neoclassical perspective, each time asking ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about the coming ones. Do a show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday, broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube under the channel LA Little. Also do a weekly show on Sundays, same time, same place, same thinking. If you want to subscribe, reach up in the right hand corner, do so. Anytime content's pushed, you get a notification. It's an easy way to stay up with what's going on. As far as what happened today, I'm taking this snapshot right at the market close today. Slightly right. Actually, it's right at the close as I'm speaking. So I'm not going to be around this evening. So I'm taking the show, taping the show a little bit early. We had, last night we had talked about the potential for a pullback. We had some mixed signals. That potential really was centered on the Russell and centered on the S&P 500. And if you look at what took place today, right, on the S&P 500 itself, you actually did get the very tiny pullback. And if you look at the Russell, exactly the same thing. What didn't give us a signal down last night? These two babies. And what did they do? They went up. And so what does the whole market do? It holds up. And we have another day of sideways movement, no downside yet, and tonight we don't have any signals telling us that we're going to get downside either, which is another piece of the pie. As far as Europe, Europe trades up on the DAX, trades down on the CAX. You had the Brussels attacks today. Our hearts go out to everyone involved in that. It's a terrible situation that the world is as it is, but it is what it is, and I don't want to shrug it off and act as if it's nothing, but and it does have an effect on the market. So I try to leave our thoughts with the markets versus the human toll that took place there, and I do have sympathies for anyone involved in that. As far as the Nikkei got a nice push up with the dollar stronger against the Nikkei, the yen, making the yen weaker. Oil tried to pull back a little bit, not much. You got inventory numbers tomorrow there. That's going to be the story. Dollar a little bit stronger today. Now the dollar pushing back up into that retest regen zone. That's about as far as it's probably going to go. Probably going to see it try to switch around. Let's go look at the charts. Again, I'm not going to have volumes on these indexes tonight, but it's not going to matter because what I'm going to show you is that what really happened today. Take these 3 bars, just look at those 3 bars, and look at the low of the high volume Friday bar. That was 20.41.16. Today's low, 20.40.57. So you got underneath it, got into it. Sellers disappear back the other way, right? That was right on the open. They did that. They took it right back the other way. They do a doji tonight after what we called a 2-bar last night. Remember, the bar after the 2-bar is almost a guaranteed bar that you can trade with very little risk. It turned out didn't give you anything today, but it didn't take anything away from you either if you traded it even up. So that was the bars today. But the fact that it went under back over, couldn't find any sellers at lows, says to me it's probably going to try to push the top again. And if you look at the NASDAQ, that's also the story there. They push higher. They don't give it up. And if you look at the NDX, you have the exact same thing there. No give up whatsoever. New highs. And finally, if we go over to the Russell was the other one given a mixed signal last night. Went over, back under. It was just an over-under. It wasn't a 2-bar. It also gives you the little pullback today. But it also traded into the swing point highs test. So that's a retest, attempt to regenerate higher. If I'm drawing it on the chart for you, I'd be drawing it this way, saying, here's the swing point high. That's the one you got over. You're going to come back, usually 80% of the time, you're going to come back within 6 bars. Well, sure enough, we come back immediately, second bar out, and we're retesting. Now, if we can't get under this, then it's going to try and regenerate higher. Hard as it is to believe, that's what the signal sets up as, and that's what we have to be watching. Now, one thing I would alert you to, and it's starting to form on a number of these, and we actually have a holiday shortened week, right? We have Good Friday this Friday. You have 2-bar reversals starting to set up potentially on the weeklies now. And what I'm talking about here is you got a nice big long spike up, right? Angle of ascent, compressed time, high percentage. When you get that kind of situation, you can expect, if it fails, in other words, the bar before it gets over it back under it, less volume, and I think we're going to have less volume this week. That's going to set up a 2-bar reversal and potentially get some downside going maybe the following week. And so that's something to keep on your radar screen as to what's happening out here. Elsewhere, you actually have a couple of failures taking place inside the indexes. If we look at the major sectors, for example, the SOX. SOX goes up, over, back under, ends up with slightly less volume. That's a failure. That's a 2-bar. You actually had that 2-bar in the financials we pointed out last night. That also trades down a third of a percent today. So the 2 bars worked, but they didn't work for a lot. You got a little pullback finally in this XLI. You talk about a mad rush into something. 48 to 55, $7. 15, 16, 17% it looks like on the way up. All in a very compressed period of time. So when we do get the reversals, they're going to be fairly large. XLB, XLE pulling back in a normal way. XLY, same sort of thing, just pulling back in a normal way. I don't see much in the way of failures anywhere except for those 2 that we saw last night, which look like they got turned tonight. They're going to try to trade higher tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. That will give them an attempt to trade higher tomorrow. We'll see if they fell again. It's becoming very stretched to the upside, very difficult to get any kind of movement to the upside, but they still keep pressing it. Last thing I want to switch to here is the DAX. The DAX actually traded almost to the Draghi high. You're within about 5 points of it. It's going to try to attack it again tomorrow. And the CACs, maybe off of the Belgium news, could not get anything going. And so we have kind of a mixed signals again. Overseas, Europe trading soft. U.S. markets tried to pull back, couldn't. Now we're going to try to push up. We'll see if they can. Weeklies setting up for failures if by the end of the week we can't get up and over those highs that we've already scaled. And so that's the way we're starting to set up here for the end of the week. That's going to be the key this week. Tomorrow, a big piece of everything right now is the oil market. If you look at the USO, oil tried to pull back today, really couldn't pull back or wouldn't pull back. Still hanging up there. You got oil inventory numbers tomorrow. That's going to be the big story tomorrow in these markets, and we'll see how that one falls out. I want to come back on the last thought here, the terror trade. Every time you have these incidents anymore, if you go back to London, if you go back to the earlier last year, the attack in France, if you go back to any of those, right? Every time they happen, the go-to trade for traders is you buy the weakness straight away, and you sell like gold strength this morning. It's happened over and over and over. That's what's programmed in now. And when that fails to happen, then it's going to mean something. But right now, you have to expect that's what's going to happen on these trades, and that is what happened again today on the unfortunate situation in Belgium. Folks, have a great night. Take care. Kiss your loved ones. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.